Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good morning.
Yes, it's morning over here, afternoon over there, I believe.
Yeah, it's the evening time over here, just about. So, Chris, before we get started, do you want to give our audience a quick background into your origin story, your career trajectory, and then what got you to make that leap into Web3?
Well, basically, we've been looking at all of the cryptocurrencies out there, and we've been comparing that to the .com boom and bust. And if you look at all of the cryptocurrencies out there, actually, can you tell me which one of them actually work? Which one of them create value for businesses? And which one of them actually has demand from real-world transactions? Can you tell me which ones they are?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I know that people aren't really making real world transactions with Bitcoin. I would say Bitcoin probably still has the most value, and I'm basing that off not just the market cap, but the global adoption. It's also pretty clear to me that Bitcoin is an asset. It's a property, not security. The SEC just came out today and tried to say that, or is trying to say that Ethereum's security. So, um, yeah, I'd say Bitcoin is probably the most valuable in my eyes.
Yeah. It's definitely got the highest market cap. But can you tell me what can Bitcoin do that no other cryptocurrency can do?
What can Bitcoin do that no other cryptocurrency can do? Well, I would say that Bitcoin's value lies within its decentralization. I would say that proof of work is probably the best consensus mechanism, the most reliable consensus mechanism for a decentralized, robust, software based asset to sit on. And so I don't know if it can necessarily do something that other assets cannot do. I think it's more about the track record, and I think it's more about the network of miners backing it, the hash rate, and the input that goes to get the output of Bitcoin, which is going to be energy, whether it's fossil fuels, whether it's solar, whether it's hydro, whether it's any wind, anything else, right? So that's kind of where I think I know what you're getting at. I don't really, as far as crypto assets and them providing like tangible value, you could look at, like, I don't know, the tokenization of real world assets in the form of NFTs. You can take property, for example, and you can tokenize it in the form of NFTs, and you can get people to invest in a property that they otherwise wouldn't have access to because they live in other parts of the world. That's again,
Yeah,
I would pass the mic back to you.
yeah. Well, a few questions there. I think the issue of proof of work is going to be a real problem for Bitcoin. We've been exploring how much electricity it uses. When you read articles that it's using more electricity than Argentina, and then the best case scenario of that is that only 55% of it is from green electricity. That means 45% is not from clean electricity, which means it's actually burning about 132 million tonnes of coal every year, which is going to become a real problem because the Greens and even the head of XRP came out and gave money to Greenpeace to try and stop Bitcoin from happening. And I think when you get with the regulators who don't like Bitcoin and trying to work out how to deregulate or get it out of the system, Australia is about to do that. They won't. They bring in something called a decentralized digital currency, and Bitcoin won't be allowed to be part of that group because it hasn't got a company backing it. And second of all, with all the electricity it uses, all the Greens are starting to get very upset about it. And if Tesla can't accept it because of its non-green credentials, then there's going to be a real problem. But what I was really getting at was that if you look at every cryptocurrency out there, and Warren Buffett was a very big caller on this, is that they don't do anything. What we've created with Earth Points is something where demand is created from potentially every transaction in the world. Now, I mean that by off the back of credit card transactions. If you go down today and you go and buy a restaurant, if Earth Points is in that particular restaurant giving away Earth Points, which is like a supercharged reward point, then we create demand from your buying a meal, or you buying fuel for your car, or you paying for electricity, or you going and buying a shirt, or you going and buying your groceries. We have that happening now every day in Australia. We're creating demand from real world transactions. The businesses love us because we deliver customers. We deliver eco customers and supporters of clubs, churches, and charities to them as customers. You may have heard of companies like Google and Facebook, which are the new digital marketing companies. But then you go back to TV, radio, newspaper, all the traditional media. What were they doing? They're delivering customers to businesses. That's $1 trillion industry every year. And what EarthPoints does is we take the supporters of clubs, churches, and charities and eco customers, we deliver them to businesses on a pay per sale basis, not on a pay per click basis, but on a pay per sale basis. That means EarthPoints can have demand created from potentially every transaction from every business to every customer in the world.
Can you?
What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
so can you dive a bit deeper into exactly how you guys are doing this?
Right, what we do is we get customers. Let's say we in the New York Yankees. There's about probably, I don't know, 5 or 10, 15 million supporters of the New York Yankees. Would that be fair? You're in New York?
Sure. I mean, I don't have those exact figures, but let's go with that for the sake of the argument.
And then you've got all the little league players, and then you've got all of them, and then you've got the Greenpeace supporters, which runs into tens of millions worldwide. What we do is we go to organisations like that and say, would you like revenue? And they all say yes, because they're a charity or they're a club. So they bring their supporters into our system, and the supporters join up for free. Then they register their debit credit card on our system, which is held in Oracle, which is one of our partners. You've heard of Oracle Corp, one of that huge tech giant. They hold all of our databases and security and look after that. They're one of our partners. So what happens is we get all the members of those clubs, churches, and charities come in. We then go to the business and we say, would you like those as customers? They all say yes. So they pay us about 3% minimum of a transaction. We're currently averaging about 3.8% on every transaction we do. So what happens is you go in, your credit card, and pay for your restaurant meal. That reacts with our system, which is what it's called, reacts, Rewards for Earth active card technology system. And what occurs is that business then agrees to pay us in a similar way to what Google Clicks work. You put, if you're a business, you'll put money into Google. Every time someone clicks, you get money taken out of your account. We do the same, except it's on a per sale basis. So as your credit card reacts with their terminal, they pay us out of their account. So what's happening is we're creating demand for cryptocurrency from that transaction, and every transaction in every business that is gifting Earth points back to you. And what happens also is it not only gifts it to you as points, and it's from $334 worth of spending, you'd end up with $2 worth of crypto. On top of that, your nominated club would end up with $2 worth of crypto. So if your little league club has 1,000 parents out there collecting $2 a week, that's $2,000 a week going to that club. Or if Greenpeace, there'd be 2 million, or say if they had 10 million, there'd be $20 million a week going to Greenpeace, which could help save the planet. So we're creating demand for not only for cryptocurrency, we're putting money towards saving the planet, we're putting money towards the community. And you may have heard of ESG, which is environmental and social governance, which large companies, and particularly in the EU and the US, are now being forced to put a percentage of their revenue towards looking after the environment and looking after the community. So what our system does is works with businesses and enables them to, as you pay for something, you get points, the environment gets points, and the community gets points. So we're working in a fairly regulated industry in the credit card industry, the cryptocurrency industry. We're working with the environment and we're working with the community. And basically every entity in the transaction wins. The business wins, it gets a customer, which it's happy to pay for. The customer gets points, which you can use back at any business in the world. This is a situation where once you earn enough points, you can spend them back at any business in the world. Right, that's accepting them. Your community wins because you've just nominated your favourite club, church, or charity, and the planet wins. We've also got an ambassador program which brings in all the businesses and clubs into the system. So that's a bit of a quick overview.
Sure. So starting with the Earth points, I mean, you can only use them at places that accept them, correct?
Yeah, but any business can join in and get it happening. Right? And it's a very simple process for a business to come along and join our system. And what they're trying to do is attract customers, which are the supporters of either the eco customers, eco consumers, or the supporters of clubs, churches, and charities. So we haven't come across a sports club or a charity that doesn't want money. And so they're all happy to join up because it's free to them.
So they join up, and it promotes people to come and spend money on them or donate money to them because the incentive is earning Earth points, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like frequent flyer points.
Sure.
You know, there's people out there that'll spend an extra $200 on a flight to fly with their favorite airline because they earn $1 worth of points. So we have the situation now where you can go and earn points, which are a type of cryptocurrency, with potentially every transaction you do, every purchase you make. So what it is we have the environmentalists all out trying to get every business involved in this, so that part of the money, or part of the purchase, goes towards saving the planet. We then have the clubs all wanting the businesses involved. Why? Because they get a share of it. We have the customers all wanting to be involved because they get a share of it. And unlike normal reward points, which are owned by the company that gifts them to you normally, you don't have them, righto? And then they work out how to devalue them, and then if you don't use them, they take them off you, right? With our system, you as the customer own them. And if the value of the cryptocurrency increases in value, so does your point. So for the first time ever, you as a customer will have reward points that have actually increased in value rather than decreased in value, which is what every other reward point does. So it's a very versatile system.
And how do the reward points promote the adoption and use of cryptocurrencies? I guess I'm missing that
Well,
connection.
as we said, it's basically every time you go and purchase something where you earn Earth points, you've created demand for cryptocurrency. And that's just from using your normal credit card. You walk down with a nominated credit card, and we are in all the major businesses in Australia where you can either purchase goods, or you can even redeem your points through a gift card system. So you can earn points in every major grocery in Australia, one of the major service station chains, major hardware chains. You actually are creating demand from cryptocurrency from using a credit card, not from spending
So are Earth
cryptocurrency.
points are Earth points a cryptocurrency, a crypto based asset?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
And we're one of the only few that we are also in the elite club of not being a security under US SEC law. Because what's happening with the consumers is you're actually being gifted the points. So there was no investment contract. You didn't purchase them. You were gifted them as part of another transaction. So every time you go and use your credit card that's registered in a business where you gift Earth points, you're creating demand for cryptocurrency every transaction. And that's something which has never been done with crypto. Normally you have a system where you've got to go out and you've got to buy the cryptocurrency so you can buy something else, right? You really want to buy a restaurant meal, but you're forced to buy a cryptocurrency so that you can buy a restaurant meal. That system's never going to work because it adds complexity, it adds risk, and it just destroys the whole principle of making things easier. What's happening with our system, once your credit card is lodged and registered, you just go and spend as normal and you earn the points. In fact, if a business is signed up with our system and you walk in with your credit card, you'll know you've earned Earth points before the cashier knows. It all happens automatically in the background, because we're registered on the back of the payment gateway system for Visa, MasterCard, and EFTPOS transactions. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Um, I suppose my next question is, where are Earth points deriving their value from? What's setting the price?
Just simply supply and demand. We believe that the the Bitcoin theory of proof of work is not viable in the long term, because as soon as you know the market decides it doesn't like Bitcoin, there's no floor on it. It can just keep crashing down. There's no asset backing. There's no
I
supply
mean, I mean,
coming in.
people have been
You
making
take
this
the
argument
speculators
against
out of the
Bitcoin.
market.
People have been making this argument against Bitcoin for over 10 years, and I would suggest anyone. I mean,
Okay.
I don't want to take this on a tangent and talk about Bitcoin, but I would suggest
Yeah.
anyone that reads into Bitcoin's energy consumption to go look at other things like laundry machines, and or I think it's dryers, and how
Yeah,
much.
but laundry machines do something else, right? This is the issue, and I don't want to get into an argument
Sure.
about Bitcoin, but everything else does something else. Bitcoin is just pure speculation. It's nothing else that it does, and
No,
that's the
that's
problem.
not true
But
though. Bitcoin is first of all a scarce asset. It's a software-based money. It's decentralized. It's a peer-to-peer
yeah,
network
but the
that has
scarcest mineral in the world is not worth
it has
anything,
a
right? Scarcity is not an idea of value,
right, but it's
right?
a
The
peer-to-peer
scarcest mineral in
network
the
that has
world,
a great track record of
yeah.
protecting purchasing power
Oh,
over
look,
long
it's
periods of time relative to its
well,
life cycle.
yeah, but what's going to happen in the future is going to be the issue, and that's what
I
neither
mean,
of us
they've been
know,
saying
righto?
this for
And
a long time, but you can move. Bitcoin allows
yeah,
people not just do that, but to move money, billions of dollars across space and time without it eroding. I mean, uh, so
well, they will, but the government doesn't like that. And that's going to be one of the issues. But that's another story again, right? But what we're looking at is what we provide, which Bitcoin can't even provide. Bitcoin can't do what we can do, right? With Earth Points. Earth Points is in part of every transaction, can be in every transaction from every business to every customer. Bitcoin can't do that. Bitcoin doesn't save the planet, it damages it. Bitcoin can't be used at any business in the world. Earth Points can. This is a far more versatile system. There's no app for Bitcoin which allows you to collect your points, right?
what is going to be
We have all
driving
of those sort
demand
of
for
things.
Earth points? I'm just curious.
Every transaction, righto? Not speculation. This is what the difference is. We believe Bitcoin demand is pure speculation, right? What we've got is a situation where when you go down and you buy your groceries or you buy your restaurant meal, we're creating demand for cryptocurrency from that. Bitcoin doesn't do that. When you go and spend money at the moment at a local restaurant or buy your groceries, you're not creating demand for cryptocurrency. With Earthpoint's system, you are from every transaction. There is no product in the world that can create, besides Earthpoints, that can create demand from potentially every transaction in the world, from every business to every customer. Right? Every customer to every business, we create demand for cryptocurrency, which is Earthpoints.
Right, but
Bitcoin can't do that.
for those Earth points to have value, there needs to be someone else on the other side that's willing to buy them.
That's right. It's the business that's always buying. The business is always buying because they have to give to the customers. So what's happening is the customer comes in and purchases. The business is buying the points to give to the customer, to give to the planet, and to give to the community. Right. So as you collect them as a customer, you can sell them back onto the market. This is a full ecosystem going round and round, which if you take the speculators out of the market, Earth Points keeps getting demand from businesses, from every transaction. No other cryptocurrency in the world does that.
And what stops a company like United or American Airlines or Starbucks from launching their own proprietary rewards program that they control that has their name on it? Why would they
We've
use Earth
we've
points?
got we've got patented system. We patent the ability to use reward points on a cryptocurrency. So we control that space basically.
Understood. So how many companies have you guys onboarded?
Look, at the moment, you can actually earn Earth Points from thousands of major retailers in Australia. We've got the two major grocery chains. We've got the major hardware chain, which have got thousands of outlets throughout Australia. We're going into New Zealand now, and we're also looking at we're testing in Singapore and the UK. So we can basically work with, I guess there's tens of thousands of businesses. It's like saying to you, how many Walmarts are there in the US? Once you have our system with Walmart, you can basically work with every Walmart. So I don't know how many Walmarts there are in the USA, but it'll be quite a few. So that's one business, but it's many businesses, if that makes sense.
But have you guys signed an agreement with Walmart?
We have the ability to, not Walmart, the Australian businesses we're dealing with. We haven't gone into the US, but we can. We're one of the only cryptocurrencies which can actually operate because we've got a legal opinion. It's not a security. But at the moment in Australia, there's two major supermarket chains, for instance, which is called Coles and Woolworths. You can currently either earn points or redeem points through our gift card system with Coles or Woolworths. So from that transaction, you can either earn the points or you can redeem the points back there and spend it. So you could actually go out and earn all your points at Coles and you could spend them back at Woolworths. if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. And are you guys launching the token anytime soon, or is there a way to currently earn?
It's already on 3 exchanges, but because we haven't been looking at social media followers and that sort of thing, which we can't do, because if we did that, we'd be deemed a security in the US. So we don't promote our token as a investment. We promote it as a working system, which is what it is. People can still speculate on it, but we cannot promote it as a security or as an investment, which is a very different scenario to what you've had in the past with every cryptocurrency, where they're trying to say theirs is the best investment and you should be purchasing it. But what it's going to come back down to with anything is what's its use and what's the supply and demand characteristics of it. And because our token, our Erth point, can be get demand from real world transactions for potentially every business to customer transaction in the world, that's unprecedented demand that not only a cryptocurrency has never had, but there's no product in the world which can get that sort of demand. I know if you've got a Visa card, you're not in MasterCard transactions. You're not in American Express transactions. We can be in every one of those transactions because businesses want customers. Customers want to get a bonus, which is the Erth points, which is your loyalty reward point. Clubs, churches, and charities want to get extra revenue. So they're prepared to give us all their supporters. The customers benefit from using our system, and the business benefits from using our system, and the planet benefits from using our system. And if you look at it from an international point of view, you could do a world trip and earn points at hotels in London, and then restaurants in Singapore, then buy a shirt in Hong Kong, and you could then use the points on the way home at Hawaii at a restaurant there. And every transaction you've sent Erth points back to your, say, if you had a son playing in Little League or daughter, you could have been sending points from every transaction you've made internationally back to that club, so you're supporting that. And part of every transaction also goes to help save the planet.
Is this an
So
ERC20
the
based token?
versatility is amazing. No, it wasn't fast enough. We're based on the NEM chain.
Sorry, the what chain?
NEM blockchain. XEM. It's got a sort of a dual name.
Got it.
XEM,
Yep.
NEM.
Familiar.
Yeah.
And which centralized exchanges are you guys on?
It's on the P2P, B2B exchange, the coin store. We've also got a exchange which we're in the process of launching in Australia. We're one of only 7 companies which got digital currency exchange license in Australia, which is a highly regulated system based on custodial system. We can't do what happened with XRP. Our system is custodial, so if we take out of your cryptocurrency and use it for our own purpose, we'd go to jail very, very quickly. So it's probably one of the most secure regimes in the world with digital currencies. And so we are looking at being able to provide that as a service between business and clubs, churches and charities, which gives them an easy on-ramp, off-ramp for either purchasing, which all happens automatically through our system, for the Erth points to be gifted with credit cards. But when the clubs come in and say, well, we've earned $1,000 worth of Erth points, we want to cash them in, we're just selling that back to the businesses. And it's actually even better than that, because what's happened is, because the transaction has already occurred, in which case, if the club that you're supporting or Greenpeace wanted to cash in $10,000 worth of tokens, then the business has already paid for $300,000 worth of transactions beforehand. So all we're doing is sharing the revenue that we've already got. So there's basically no risk to the clubs, churches and charities or the customers, because we're paid in advance. We're then just giving you a portion of that money, being you're a club or an individual or to the planet.
Understood. Okay, so that is the component where you're giving back to the environment. You're donating to what charitable causes that help the Earth get greener.
Yeah, and look, we all damage the planet, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. Even just living damages the planet, because we all use electricity. The buildings we live in all had to be mined out of the ground. The cars we drive are all mined. Doesn't matter when they're electric. There was all mining to get the batteries. There was mining to use the coal. We're all damaging the planet. It's just how much we damage it. And, the more we damage it, the way it's heading at the moment with ESG is the more you're going to have to pay to repair it. So if your business is using a lot of coal-fired power, then you're going to have to pay to repair it with the new legislation coming in. And what we do is we cater to that because we enable the business to be paying through the Earth Point reward loyalty system. They're paying to repair the damage which their business is always causing. And that's becoming law throughout the world. If you look at the EU with the ESG, if you look at the US government with the ESG, it's all coming together that large businesses are having to contribute more and more because of the environmental damage they do, and they're having to give back to the community at the same time. It's a changing world.
Okay, well, Chris, I'm gonna let a couple of my community members ask questions, and I'll circle back with some more.
Okay.
Hey, Captain Levi, you're on the mic.
Right. Thanks, Noah. Chris, I love the conversation so far, but I would just like to ask you a series of questions, and your answers will depend. Will answer next. Will depend on the next question I intend to ask. My first question is that: are you guys a for-profit or a non-profit organization?
We're actually both. We believe that in order to make this system work, it needs to be a fully capitalist type situation. So therefore, what we're doing is we're realizing that businesses already spend trillions of dollars on marketing and advertising. So what we do is deliver them a customer, and they only pay us per sale. We then have a secondary situation where we have a registered charity, which is compliant with all tax law, and that's called the Rewards for Earth Foundation, which is a charity, which then goes out and works with other companies which are, say, pulling plastic out of the ocean, or they're planting trees, or they're saving endangered species. We work with, at the moment, we've got the orangutans, we've got the elephants, we've got the tigers, we've got the koalas, we've got people that plant trees. So what's happening is the money that's going to the charity, to the foundation to support the environment or to support the clubs, churches and charities, they're non-profits, but we are for a for-profit organisation. That makes sense?
Okay. Yes, I think it does. So, do you guys have a registered trademark as an organization?
Yes, we've got a few. We've got Earth Points as a registered trademark. It's also part of the patented system which we have. And we have Rewards for Earth, which is also a registered trademark. And we've got a few other patents and different things which work with our technology to enable us to do what we do. We have Oracle Corporation as one of our partners, which looks after our security. We work on the back of the payment gateway for Visa and MasterCard and EFTPOS. So we're a very highly regulated industry that we work in. So we're very big on compliance. We even have the situation now where a business can pay, in Australia, the tax law enables you to pay 12 months in advance for certain items, and marketing's one of them. So if you're a large business at the moment that's needing to comply with your ESG, you can actually pay us for our Reacts marketing services, which includes the Earth Points, 12 months in advance. You would get a tax deduction this financial year for your services that you're going to use in the next financial year. So we've got a lot of things happening.
All right, that's fair enough. So remember I said that the question, the way you answered the question, this is my next question. Is your organization carbon neutral or carbon negative?
Well, look, at the moment, with the money we give away, we're probably carbon negative. We're taking money out because we're organising to plant a lot of trees. That's one of the issues you have when people start talking about that. Even big companies say they're carbon neutral or they're carbon negative. But it's probably not very accurate for most organisations, because what they do is they'll say, well, we've got a solar farm. But that solar farm will produce electricity during the day, but not at night, or not when it's cloudy. So the companies are not turned off from the grid. So when they're not producing solar at different times, they're still using coal-fired electricity, particularly in Australia because we don't have nuclear, which is probably the cleanest power out there. So you have this sort of misleading concept that at certain times they're carbon negative, and then at other times they're using coal-fired electricity, but they're saying they're carbon neutral, which really doesn't make sense, because if you were really carbon neutral, you wouldn't be using any coal-fired electricity. And I don't think there's many businesses in the world that could actually say that. And one of the things which the Australian government is now cracking down on is greenwashing, where companies come out and say they're carbon neutral, but they're actually not. Because they're still hooked up to the grid, and at different times they will use coal-fired power station, while at other times they're producing solar, but a lot of time that solar, the electricity gets grounded and doesn't get used, because we're producing too much solar electricity at different times in Australia. So we have sort of this odd situation where on a sunny day that's very windy, probably half of our electricity gets grounded and just put into the planet and not being used. And then at other times when we don't have sun or wind, we're back burning coal-fired power stations. So to say people are carbon neutral a lot of the time is very misleading, and the Australian government is now making massive fines to people that go out and make these false claims, pretending that they're more green than what they actually are. So does that answer that question?
Yes, it does. Okay, so here's the follow-up question on that. If you guys are carbon neutral, as you or carbon negative rather, do you give out carbon credits to companies?
We're actually looking at being able to work with some companies on carbon credits. But what we can do is just work with small companies where we can, you can get trees planted in Africa for a few cents. In Australia, it's obviously a bit more expensive, but we work with one of the companies called Lord of the Trees, and there's another, they want to plant 1 billion trees, and there's other companies which are doing like a green line across Africa. They want to plant a whole heap of trees across Africa. What we can do is we can support organisations that are doing that, because they're better at planting trees than what we are. So what we do is, if you go and spend $1,000 at over the next few weeks buying your groceries, or you went and bought a suit, for instance, for $1,000, then the company would pay us 3%, which is $30. From that, about $6-7 would go back to you in points, but $6 or $7 would also go to, if you nominate it, and it's up to the customer to nominate it, you could nominate Lord of the Trees. So from that $6, you may have planted 10, 20 trees, depending on where we're planting them, but you may have planted 20 trees because you bought a suit to offset the carbon used from that transaction. So it's up to the
All right.
customer where
Okay.
they want the money to go to a certain degree. You get to choose, or you could be supporting instead of Lord of the Trees, you could support, say, Greenpeace, or you could support the tigers, so that you wanted to help save the tigers, and we could be buying habitat for the tigers, which then also is got trees in the habitat. See, so it's a fairly complex type of thing, but we're going to try and do our best, is all we can do.
Yeah, I actually do have a ton of questions, but I can see there are other speakers up, so I'm going to just limit it to two last questions.
Yep.
You just made mention of the fact that you won't be since you're gifting, the loyalty rewards, you're not going to be under the American tax law influence. There's actually an aspect of American tax law that deals with that aspect. In fact, one of the previous spaces today that we had today, they discussed that. What happens when an influential person decides to promote the rewards for Earth based on the American standard? Would you guys would definitely be benefiting from that? How would you walk around that?
Well, it's usually a matter of disclosure. We don't have any major influences like you're speaking of that we're paying, other than we've had a few paid discussions. So we disclose what we do, but we haven't had people coming out and saying purchase our Earth points, invest in our Earth points. That's not something we would recommend anybody to do, because we would be then classified as a security under US law. So we do not want to be classified as security under under US law. So we don't come out and say this is buy it, this is an investment. We are promoting this as a working system for businesses, and the same as any celebrity can come on your TV tomorrow and promote that go to Walmart or whatever it is, a celebrity can come out and say, go and earn Earth points. So that's very different to saying buy Earth points as an investment. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, it does. Okay, so here's my final question. The issue of carbon credits is actually a subject of debate up till now because carbon credits has actually been used. You already make mention of the greenwashing, and that's like the list of the problems. Carbon credits has also been, proven that these companies that give out these credits are actually subject to fraud at some point in time. How can you guarantee us that if these searches go round over the rewards for its trademark, the organization, you guys won't be subject of these drawbacks?
Well, what we looking at doing is being able to, if we give money to, say, Save the Tigers, which is one of the charities on our organisation list, if you nominate them, then as we start to give them more and more money, we start asking them for more and more details of what they're doing. And if the owner of that is suddenly driving around a Ferrari from money we donate, we basically will take them off the list, or we'll change the amount of money we're giving to them. So we have an audit type process where we do that. And if we deal with someone like Lord of the Trees, which can deal in carbon credits, they actually have a system which they're organising, which is I think it's 4 or 5 dimensional data, where they can send a drone over say a hectare of land. That way the hectare of land, they can work out the size of the trees and therefore how much carbon is held within those trees, and then that's audited every month. So if you have bought the carbon credit which has that, say, hectare of land with the trees in it, then that can't be sold to anybody else and resold because of the 5-dimensional data which they're using, which is your longitude, latitude, your height of all of the trees, and the time which is done. So that's your carbon credit which is held, and that can't be resold to somebody else, which has been happening within the carbon credit industry. So we're going to try and force companies like that to provide a sort of a good audit trail through blockchain to be able to verify what's actually occurring at each time. And we're going to have a continual audit process to make sure that the companies that or organizations that we're giving money to are doing the right thing. And that's, we can't say somebody won't do it, but if we can jump on them fairly quickly, it'll stamp out a lot of that problem.
Chris, I really appreciate your detailed answers to my questions. I'll be asking the rest in your DMs. I wish you guys the very best, and I hope rewards for Earth stays bullish moonward. Thanks a lot, Noah. Over to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Captain Levi. Optimal Store, go for it.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is my third time being in this space, and I kind of like it. I'm surprised you guys can do this almost every other hour. But yeah, just wanted to ask a question. As I understand it, this sounds like mostly an endeavor marketed for businesses, correct? And so, I wonder, do you have any plans to connect directly to community members, since you said that you're not trying to have much of a social media presence? Is that correct?
I just missed that last part of the question. Somebody tried to ring me and it just cut your voice out. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I was asking if there is any plan to connect directly to community members as opposed to like the businesses that you're catering to.
Yeah, look, the community members, particularly what we're looking for is eco-consumers and also supporters of any club, church or charity in the world. We've got an app which is designed specifically for customers, so that when you come along and join, you download the app onto your phone, which is available from the Google Play or the Apple App Store. You then get to nominate your favourite club, church or charity that you want to benefit from your spending. You then would load in your credit card, which is held on Oracle databases with Oracle security. You have your own app, which you go and then see. If you look at some of the videos on our websites, you'll see that as I walk into a service station, I go and pay for pay for my fuel on my watch. It then comes up on my phone saying I've earned so many Earth points. I then own those Earth points. I can then spend them at any business I want in the world. So we're trying to get to as many consumers as what we've got. We've already got an app which allows you to earn the points and then spend the points. So that's going to go worldwide, and then you can basically earn the Earth points in any currency in the world that's part of the system. So it becomes probably the first true international currency where you're going to be able to walk up to a store, earn the points, and then spend those points at any other business in the world that accepts them. That makes sense?
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I think we have United 786.
Yep.
United, you there? Glenn, you got a question, sir?
Yeah, I can jump in there. Hi, Chris.
There you go.
I was just wondering around the sort of charity aspects you're looking to donate to. I remember in 2019, 2020, I think Australia lost 10% of the forests and billions of animals died. And sort of, what sort of charities you'd be supporting in the future? Is some going to be going to conservation of the Australian, the renovation of the forest that was lost in that terrible tragedy that year, and sort of, would you support sort of protest groups, or are you avoiding that and mainly dealing with charities like Greenpeace?
Look, we won't be promoting any protest, because all the protest has done is designed to bring attention to the problem. In the hope somebody else will find the solution. We believe we are the solution. We would like all those protesters to go out and start boycotting businesses that don't give Earth points, right? That'd be the first thing. Instead of protesting, gluing yourself to the road, go out and get these businesses to start getting Earth points so that the community benefits, the planet benefits, and the customers benefit. So that's the first point. As far as the Australian bushfires, look, it was fairly heavily promoted and it was very bad. We have had worse bushfires in Australia before. We go in a cycle in Australia from we have droughts, then we have bushfires, and then we have floods, which cause massive damage throughout the whole system. And what we're looking at doing to be able to work with the ESG, and we actually we organised a temporary accommodation for people. We also one of our charities on our system is the Currumbin Wildlife sanctuary for koalas. They've got a hospital for koalas that's already on our system. We've given money to them. We organised accommodation for the community where they lost their homes through another philanthropist. And so what we were quite active during that time. And it was quite horrific, the bushfires, but we have a sort of it just keeps happening. It's always going to happen. I'm halfway through a book at the moment from Captain Cook in 1770, and he had massive bushfires and was almost killed in a bushfire. He was surrounded by it, but the Aboriginal people lit and tried to kill him with. But we've had bushfires for thousands of years here, and we're going to continue to have them. And so what we do with the ESG component is we try and put as much as we can towards looking after the environment. And then as far as looking after the community, we look after the clubs, churches and charities. But in times of real distress, one of our causes is our local cause. So at that time, if we have massive bushfires or when we have them again, we'll go out and try and save the animals and support the local community to get them back on the feet, particularly farmers and that, which are very hard hit during those times. Floods is another one which we have in Australia. And then you have the droughts. So they all cause massive damage. You'll see sometimes if you go and search them, koalas coming out and actually drinking water from cyclists going past, because the koalas are so thirsty from the droughts. We lose them in droughts, we lose them in bushfires, we lose them in floods. So it's this continual thing of nature is sometimes angry in Australia. And we're just got to try and repair the damage as quickly and as well as what we can. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely, Chris. Yeah, and I was wondering, do you sort of avoid unethical sort of companies and banks that are still dealing with oil and gas and things like that? Are you trying to sort of use banks and avoiding sort of them areas?
Look, I think it's a bit of a sort of a false hope. Look, we would prefer, instead of saying don't go and fuel your car up or don't use coal-fired power station, The reality of the world is at the moment that if we left coal in the ground, about 90% of the world would be without regular power in about 2 months. If we left oil in the ground, about 99% of us would be without food in about 3 weeks. So that isn't going to happen anytime soon. So what we say is, instead of totally trying to boycott these things, which creates more problems with electric cars and mining and batteries and creating electricity and new power lines and all sorts of issues, instead of saying let's leave oil in the ground, well, if you're selling oil, how about you start planting forests again? How about you start repairing the community? How about you start taking plastic out of the ocean? So instead of trying to say let's stop it totally, let's start to have everybody that causes damage start to pay to repair the damage. Does that make sense?
Definitely, Chris. Yeah. Thanks very much for that.
If we try and leave oil in the ground, 99% of us aren't going to be able to have food. That's not a solution. Right? That isn't going to happen. Leaving oil and coal in the ground isn't going to happen for the next 50 to 100 years. We have to have a system where we're going to keep living, but we keep repairing the damage. Different philosophy, but that's the way we're sort of heading. So.
Okay, great. Thanks for your answers, Chris.
No worries. Next questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry to come back up, Chris. I just have one quick one. I noticed that on your give me a second to pull that up. Where you could trade Earthcoin points at where the three P2B at B2B xt.com and Coinstore. The links, none of them are links to your token pair. I don't know, is it from my end or?
Yeah, if you just go into P2P exchange and then you just search Erth, ERTH, you'll find them. Coinstore, they're all there. I'm not sure what the links are happening. Sometimes the exchange has changed the links, but I'll see if I can get it sorted out. If you can let me know which website are you on.
Yeah. Speaking of the website, I noticed there are actually two domains. You have the .org and the .com. So I think I got it from the .com website. So I was just trying to trade it, and I could not really. You just made me mention that they change from time to time. I don't know. Is this something that needs to be addressed?
Look, we'll have to look into the exchanges and what they're doing. So I'll get my team onto it later today to have a look at. But we haven't been promoting the trading of the token as such. We've just been the exchange trading has been from businesses buying the coins to use. So there's basically been no speculation on the exchanges. Is the interesting part about our token. So I'll look into it and see what we can do. And our exchange is called Erth Exchange. That'll be opening up to the public over the next month or so. We're just doing the final testing at the moment.
All right, then. Sounds good. Thanks for clearing that up. Thanks. Sorry about that, Noah.
You're right. Sorry, the links are wrong. I'll get them to look into it.
Yeah, right on. I guess one suggestion I had, Chris, was maybe if you could include a list of the companies and the churches that you're working with. I'm not sure if you guys have that on the site.
Yeah, it is on the site. There's on the app, the customer app. There's a whole list of charities and churches which we work with, and I think it's on our Rewards for Earth Foundation websites. All of the list of charities and churches and clubs that we work with. And we're just putting a system in place where you're going to be able to nominate your favourite club if they're not on there, or your favourite charity if it's not on there, and we'll start enabling you to start giving them points. And then when we get to, say, $100 worth of points for them, we will then contact them and organise to give them the money. And if they don't want the money, we'll obviously take them off, but they can then start promoting it out with their consumer base. You can imagine if a company or an organisation like Greenpeace had 10 million members, each getting $2 a week from them, that'd be $20 million a week. That'd be $1 billion a year going to Greenpeace. So they would be able to fund their entire organisation through Earth points. So that's what we're looking to be able to do, is to work with organisations like that. So if any of you guys out there are with Greenpeace or would like to be there, our apps are only available in Australia, New Zealand. They'll be in Singapore shortly, and in the UK. We hopefully get out to the USA later this year and other countries. But if you would like to help us promote it, just shoot us an email from one of the website, contact us, and we will try and get into your countries fairly as quickly as we can. And we'll also start to then work with the favourite organisations which people have, so that we can start helping them and start giving them money. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. And so also, when a purchase is made, that it's the rewards are denominated, or rather, the rewards are given as Earth points, but those Earth points are denominated by dollars, correct? Because I know that one Earth point is worth like $50-something on the market.
Yeah, it's basically a supply and demand system. So what's going to occur is we want to team up with the pair up with the domestic digital currencies or the sovereign-backed currencies. So the US dollar, when it's got a digital currency, or the Chinese yuan, we would like to just team up with that. That's going to give you a pairing partner with digital currency. So it's very easy for the businesses and the clubs and churches and charities to transfer it back onto their own currency very quickly and very easily, and that enables them to use the money as they see fit. They can use the Earth points with different organisations. I'm about to go down and buy a new Earth iPhone. I'm doing that at one of the major retailers in Australia, Harvey Norman. It's a $2,100 purchase, and from that, it'll be 3.8%. So that's about, say, nearly $80 or $100 we'll get. So from that, $20 would come back to me in points. $20 would go to the charity which I'm nominating. $20 would go towards saving the planet, be planting trees or something like that. So it's a fairly interesting scenario.
Yeah, certainly interested in seeing how it plays out and kind of watching you guys expand outside of Australia. I know you said New Zealand's next. Chris, I tried to cover all bases, and we had some audience questions come in. Is there anything about reward for Earth and Earth points that I haven't asked and we haven't touched upon that you wanted to expand on?
Yeah, look, the big thing which I think everybody's got to start to look at is looking at the cryptocurrency industry compared to the dot-com boom. If you went back to the dot-com boom and bust, what happened was we had a whole heap of companies, and as long as they had .com in their name, people went out and speculated, raised billions and billions of dollars. Once that the dust started to settle about that after a few years, it was quite a few years, they eventually worked out that most of those companies weren't actually adding any value. They weren't producing any profit. They didn't create demand from businesses. Right? They weren't providing a service which everybody wanted. And my view is that eventually the cryptocurrency industry is going to come to that term. So if there's no real world use for that cryptocurrency, if you've got to go and purchase the cryptocurrency to purchase something else, that's never going to work. People don't like complexity. They don't like risk. The only cryptocurrencies which are going to survive, which is what happened with the dot-com boom, we had Google, we had Facebook, we had a few others which survived, Amazon. They were providing a great service, providing value, which is what Warren Buffett talks about, providing value, creating value for things. Then what's going to happen with the cryptocurrency industry eventually is if it's just all hype and speculation, if it's only speculation which people can buy, then eventually that coin, whichever one it is going to collapse because there's no real world use. If you compare it to like a reason why diamonds have been around so long and gold has been around so long is because if you're a gold producer, you go out and mine the gold. If I come along and buy it from you, I want to make rings. I then sell that ring to a jewelry store. The jewelry store sells it to a person that's giving his fiance a ring. That gold and that diamond is now out of the market, righto? It's on her finger. It isn't going back into the gold market or the diamond market anytime soon, correct? So what happens is the next person comes along, they've got to get another ring, so we have to go back down through the track. So what's occurring is you're taking that supply out of the market each time, which means you've got to keep going and mining more gold tomorrow because we need more gold. right? That's the way a market works. I'm actually one of the first licensed futures brokers in the country which deals in markets. And so what's occurring is, as you take supply out of the market from this demand, right, you're basically using it up. Cryptocurrency in most cases doesn't have that. The only other cryptocurrency which we've actually seen that works is XRP, which is used in transactions from account to account between banks. And to give you an idea of the difference between Erth points and XRP, XRP, if you do $1 million worth of transactions, it creates 20 cents worth of demand. If you do $1 billion worth of transactions, it creates $200 worth of demand. That's it, right? So for XRP to actually start being a profitable business, it has to do a lot of transactions. It has to do, 1 billion times what we're currently doing in the world. But with to compare that to Erth points, from $1 million worth of transactions, we create demand of $30,400 worth of demand for Erth points from $1 million worth of transactions, compared to XRP's 20 cents. And ours is not just with bank-to-bank transfers. Ours can be every time you use your credit card, every time you use a debit card. We can even have it through our business app be transferred from cash transactions, or from direct deposit transactions, or from checks. So the business can actually gift you points from you sending a check. It has to be done a little bit differently through our biz app. It's not automatic like our credit and debit card system, but it can still be done. So we have the situation where when you go and purchase something and you earn Erth points, you are taking supply out of the market. Your demand as a customer, you're saving those points because you don't want to use them back for buying a cup of coffee. It's like frequent flyer points. You don't use them on a half-hour flight. You wait until you're going to go on international flight. So you use your Erth points up there. You save them for a big purchase. And we've even got the stage in Australia now where you can use Erth points to use as a deposit on a home. Right, I've got a number of property developers which will accept Erth points as a deposit on a home. So you can be going out doing your day-to-day spending, creating demand for cryptocurrency, $30,400 from every million. As you collect the points yourself, you hold them, you collect them, they're out of the market. You can then use them as a deposit on your own home. That's the versatility of what we have. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and in several parts. Thank you, Chris, for the breakdown. Looks like that breakdown sparked a question in Optimal, so I'm going to pass the mic to him real quick.
Yep.
Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, I love that the Erth token can be used in this way. It's certainly something that I've been looking for a while. I will have to slightly disagree on your other point. The purpose of most cryptocurrencies, especially on large blockchains or protocols, is to incentivize some network participation. That's their greatest utility, right? And as for the protocol, it's most favorable if the protocol is expressive enough for people to build applications on it or other things. So I think really most blockchains are probably not useful, but I would say XRP isn't the only useful token in that respect.
Well, I hope you're right. I haven't seen it, but I hope you're right. I don't see. I see people would like, with our system, we can put cryptocurrency into the wallet of every person on the planet, right? Could be say if you've got an 80-year-old grandmother that's using a debit card. If you've downloaded the app for her, she's just earned Erth points, right? When she goes and uses that credit card at a business. So we can put it into the pocket of every person in the world. Whereas an older person, if you're telling me they've got to go and buy cryptocurrency and then you've got to go and use that to pay for it, they'll never do it. Right? It's just too complex and too hard to do. So what we're trying to do is create an ecosystem which happens automatically, so people are earning cryptocurrency straight away. And even the chairman of the SEC came out the other day, basically saying he believes there's going to be a great use come out of the cryptocurrency industry, out of blockchain, where it benefits everybody. And we've built that system. We benefit the business, we benefit the customer, we benefit the community, and we benefit the planet from every transaction you make where you earn Erth points. And that's very different to any other cryptocurrency that we've seen so far. But to get the cryptocurrency to be accepted, we have to find these currencies which work. We have to find ones that work and get real world use. Otherwise, the industry is just going to implode. We have to add value to businesses. We have to be able to show that we're producing value for people. Speculative demand will only last so long otherwise. So, any other thoughts?
Optimal, you there?
Yeah, I was having trouble connecting. I agree with you. I think what your token does is actually excellent, and I think we do need more of that. But I do think there's a fundamental difference between your token and, say, I don't know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or say like ADA or any other token, because those are protocol. I would think of those as more like protocol tokens that incentivize the network participation. In your case, it incentivizes the participation of customers in a real world use case. So I think they both actually work, and that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, look, I sort of hope you're right, because we as the cryptocurrency industry, needs to find more tokens which actually work and add value. Ones that is purely speculative, they're going to fail, right? Because they don't do anything. They don't add any value. And until you can get the real business world involved, they're not going to operate. We're dealing with some pretty major companies, including Oracle Corporation, that can see what we can do is solve businesses' ESG problems and produce customers for them, right? We need more cryptocurrencies out there which add value to businesses and add value to customers. That's what's going to make the cryptocurrency industry survive. So, any other thoughts on it?
That makes sense. Thank you very much.
Yep, all good.
Hey, Chris, thank you so much for coming on today. Looking forward to seeing where you guys take this. I'd love to see you guys start to make waves in the US, in Europe. So if you guys want to come back in the future, give us some updates, you're more than welcome to. It was great sharing the podium with you. And if you have any final thoughts for the audience, go ahead and share them now.
Yeah, look, thanks for that, and we're happy to come back any time. And if you want to see something grow, just help support us. Help support us out there. Send us some emails through our websites. Download the app if you're in Australia. Buy some React's marketing services. Get some Erth points. We really have to come together as an industry and start showing that we can create value for businesses. We can create value for customers. We can create value for the community, and we can help save the planet. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your time, Chris. And Whale Coin Talk community, thank you for joining today. That was the final AMA of the evening, or of the day. We'll be back tomorrow, but remember, everything you hear